said show the continent's history of abandoned promises. He warned that the gap between aspiration and action continues to slow Africa's progress. Lumumba urged Ilorin to implement policies that benefits its community, Nigeria, and the continent. He criticized the undervaluing of academics and lamented Nigeria's dependence on food imports despite ongoing cultural debates like the popular jollof rivalry. Moving on, West Africa's regional bloc, Ecowas, suspended Guinea-Bissau's membership after an army general was sworn in as president. The decision was made during a virtual session of Ecowas Mediation and Security Council chaired by Sierra Leone's President Julius Maada Bio. Leaders from Cape Verde, Ghana, Liberia, Nigeria, Senegal, and Benin joined the meeting, condemning the army's takeover as an illegal subversion of the democratic process. The coup occurred as Guinea-Bissau was counting votes in the high-stakes presidential election. The African Union has also condemned the coup and is expected to suspend Guinea-Bissau shortly. Regional leaders expressed concerns over the repeated pattern of military interventions in West Africa. West Africa has experienced at least 6 coups since 2020, shaking political stability across the region. ECOWAS and the AU continue to call for a return to democratic governance in affected countries. Guinea-Bissau has plunged further into political turmoil after a disputed presidential election was quickly followed by a military coup. Opposition leaders questioned the legitimacy of the takeover, highlighting actions by ousted President Umaru Sissoco Embalo. Analysts say the coup, orchestrated by high-ranking officials just 3 days after the elections, is the fourth since independence from Portugal in 1974. Attempts to link the takeover to foreign actors have been largely dismissed due to the country's weak institutions. Following the coup, the military appointed General Hota Inta as junta leader and announced a 1-year transition period. The opposition claims Embalo staged the coup to avoid conceding defeat in a tightly contested race. The whereabouts of Embalo remained unknown, where both he and his rivals have declared victory, increasingly uncertainty. Guinea-Bissau, one of the world's poorest countries, continues to struggle with repeated coups and fragile democratic institutions. Meanwhile, Guinea-Bissau's deposed president, Umaru Sissoco Embalo, has arrived safely in Senegal following his release by the military that toppled his government this week. The transfer was secured after negotiations by the West African bloc ECOWAS amid rising tensions in Guinea-Bissau. Senegal's foreign minister confirmed that Embalo landed on a chartered military flight late Thursday. Meanwhile, the military in Guinea-Bissau has sworn in General Hota Ntam as transitional leader for a 1-year period. Wednesday's coup occurred just before authorities were set to announce provisional results for the presidential and parliamentary elections. The military has suspended the electoral process, blocked results, and imposed a nighttime curfew to prevent unrest. The military claims it acted to thwart a plot by unnamed politicians linked to a prominent drug baron. Sierra Leone's Foreign Minister, Timothy Musa Kaba, said the priority was ensuring Embalo's safe evacuation, coordinated by ECOWAS Chair President Julius Maada Bio. And in Sudan, almost 500 patients, relatives, and others were linked at Al-Fashar's last functioning hospital during a takeover by Sudan's paramilitary rapid support forces, that's the RSF. The World Health Organization reported the attack as part of an increasingly brutal pattern targeting healthcare in conflict zones worldwide. Witnesses described fighters shelling the Saudi hospital, I beg your pardon, Sudan hospital, killing civilians and patients, while medics treated the wounded in makeshift emergency rooms. Health workers were forced to jump over bodies and operate under drone surveillance, with supplies like gauze and trunk bullets running out. Satellite imagery revealed mass killings and burnt bodies at the hospital, violating Islamic burial customs. Doctors and aid groups said the RSF systematically dismantled Al Fasher's healthcare system to drive civilians away and seize control of the city. Violence against healthcare has surged worldwide, with over 12,900 incidents recorded since 2021, peaking at 3,991 in 2024. In North Darfur alone, RSF was responsible for 71% of attacks, killing at least 40 health workers and forcing most hospitals to close. And from Sudan, we move straight to Kenya, where Kenya's Wildlife Service has rejected claims that the new Ritz-Carlton Luxury Lodge is blocking wild beast migration between the Masai Mara and Tanzania's Serengeti. The hotel opened despite an ongoing lawsuit filed by a Kenyan activist in August. KWS said monitoring data showed the property does not interfere with any migration corridors, noting that wild beasts use the entire 68-kilometer Kenya-Tanzania border within the reserve. Marriott International confirmed the local developer obtained all approvals and conducted an environmental impact assessment showing the site is not a wildlife crossing. The lodge has reignited debate over tourism benefits and land access in East Africa. Critics argue luxury resorts often provide limited opportunities to local communities, deepening inequality and keeping tourists on site. In Tanzania, similar disputes over Maasai lands for hunting lodges have led to clashes with police. Researchers warn that high-end tourism projects can exclude locals from the economic gains of wildlife tourism, fueling social tensions. And from Kenya, we'll move straight to Egypt, where Egypt's GDP grew by 5.3% in the first quarter of the 2025-2026 fiscal year, up from 3.5% in the same period last year. The growth was supported by government's economic and structural reforms, this according to the Planning Ministry statement. Planning Minister Rania Al-Mashat said the country is targeting around 5% growth for the full fiscal year ending June 2026, up from an earlier target of 4.5%. The ministry highlighted that reforms are accelerating economic recovery after previous slowdowns. Egypt has faced challenges from a sharp currency devaluation, rising inflation, and the economic impact of the war in Gaza. Despite these difficulties, government reforms aim to stabilize the economy and boost investor confidence. An $8 billion IMF-supported economy program has helped accelerated reforms, while $24 billion in investment from the UAE Sovereign Wealth Fund supports projects including the major Mediterranean land deal. These measures are central to Egypt's strategy to sustain long-term growth. And from Egypt to Mauritania, where the African Development Bank, AFDB, and European Investment Bank, EIB, have signed a $275 million financing package to modernize Mauritania's main railway corridor. AFDB will contribute $150 million, while EIB will provide $125 million, according to the lender's statement. The railway risk iron ore mines in Zorate, northeastern Mauritania, to the Atlantic port of Nouadhibou. The agreement was guaranteed by the European Union and signed during the African Investment Forum in Rabat. The funding will allow Mauritania's national industrial and mining company, that's the SNIM, to rehabilitate existing tracks and build 42 kilometers of new railway to future mining sites at El Aljoué and Atomai. The project also includes the purchase of locomotives, wagons, and maintenance equipment. SNIM, the country's largest employer, will benefit from improved logistics and operational efficiency. The railway upgrade is expected to enhance Mauritania's mining export capacity and support economic growth. You're still watching the African News right here on Voice of the People Television. We'll go straight to the analysis segment of the news. And joining us now to make sense of these stories and more is Dr. Peter Anosike. Dr. Peter is an erudite scholar in finance economy, and he's also an economist by profession and a major writer right here in Nigeria. Doctor, a very good afternoon to you.
Thank you for having me.
Well, let's jump right into it. And again, this is an interesting conversation for me because it has to do with some economies across Africa. Interestingly, as we speak, Mauritania is getting a major boost. I call it a major boost from the African Development Bank and, of course, the European Investment Bank to the tune of about $275 million, particularly in financing packages to modernize what Mauritania clearly has said will be a major main railway corridor for the nation. First, I want to ask you, what's your position with this kind of financing deal, particularly on the part of AFDB, who again, the president of the AFDB is from that particular country?
This could be about the first loan he is given after he took over, that's from Akinwumi Adesina.
Right.
And as the saying goes, charity begins at home. So
they should feel his impact.
So he wants to understand, for the people to know, yes, but this is our time, understand, to me. And as I keep on saying, there's nothing wrong with borrowing, as long as you are borrowing to invest. Borrowing for development, understand? But why this always go wrong is that the people that lend this money that don't go for oversight functions, understand? They don't go to make sure that what the money is borrowed for is what is being used, understand? Because one, whenever countries are going to borrow money, they always write beautiful things on paper. We want to do this, we want to do this, we want to empower, we want to provide employment, we want to provide infrastructure, but at the end of the day, it will be siphoned into different things. So for me, if the loan agencies that will also be supervisors of the loans,
right,
I feel that it will go a long way in making sure that the purpose is achieved.
And then there's a level of credibility when it comes to how the monies are being dispersed.
That's once they are there, boots on ground to ensure that what the money was borrowed for is what it is being used.
Okay.
So we have seen people in Nigeria who borrowed money that to marry more wives. Well, and you can see there's no way that loan could be paid back.
That again is a major conversation here. But I want to find out from you, Doctor, who really profits from the EU guaranteed railway? Because this again is clearly coming from the European banks, clearly in this Who really profits
And the
from
banks,
this EU guaranteed
and
loan?
the banks are also being controlled by government.
Exactly.
These people are not Father Christmas. They are not Mother Teresa. Understand?
Okay.
I'm sure this is they are building rails to their mine sites, and I know that these European countries must have interest in those sites.
Sites, yes.
Understand? And they say who paid the piper dictates or the tune. Understand? Maybe they want to start exploiting those natural resources.
Oh, okay. You think it's about exploiting the natural resources on this matter?
And that's the only, because they are not for that Christmas.
Now, Doctor, interestingly as it stands, the National Industrial and Mining Company, that's the SNIM, are about the largest employers in Mauritania. So, from these kind of figures, $275 million, what percentage clearly touches the household's income outside the mine rail port chain?
Well, the most important thing in this thing is that there should be an equity between the mining company and the people.
Okay.
There should be an equity. That is the only way all the people will benefit from what is happening there. Because when these are being mined, agriculture is affected.
Right.
They cannot farm there. They cannot fish there anymore. So there should be an equity. There should be a percentage that the people will be benefiting for what they are losing as a result of those mines.
Yeah, because this is a concern on the part of Mauritanians who have said at this point, this might just look like another enclave upgrade with, of course, security patrols all over the place, and the people who are supposed to benefit from this particular 42 kilometers extension are not benefiting from it.
That's why I talk about equity between the mining company and the people.
So, talking about this equity, Doctor, we know how Africa can be when it comes to leadership, and of course, these kind of loans that are being granted to countries of this nature. Can the people trust their government to making sure that there is total and very fair equity on the part of the people to gain more in this 42 kilometers extension that we're talking about right now?
If those in government are really representing all the people, they will make sure that their people are well taken care of. That if they are true representative of their people, they will make sure that their people will not lose in this development.
Well,
because it ought to be a win-win situation.
Exactly, and that again is something that a lot of persons would really want to talk about here. Doctor, there is no time span for these particular projects. Does that show any transparency, so to say, within these kind of projects? And of course, the time frame to execution and even to returning back these loans?
Well, the truth is you can never achieve what you cannot measure. Understand?
So this looks like a measurable project?
Once there's no time limit, it means that it means that it may not be achieved even in the next 30, 40, 50 years. Because what time does is that it helps you to kind of know what you are doing.
Right.
That we're expecting in the next 3 years, this project will be here. In the next 5 years, it will be here. It will be completed in 10 years. So when there's no time bound, understand, then it means that there will not even be any seriousness.
Okay.
They can even just grade there and abandon it.
Doctor, let's assume that this project will see the light of the day. 42 kilometers railway, of course, making the Mauritanian railway corridor a bit deep and, of course, better. What do you think would be the economical footprint of these kind of projects
One,
in Mauritania?
it's going to revolutionize everything in the country. It's going to revolutionize both agriculture, transportation, and every other thing, because anywhere road passes, development follows. Anywhere in the world that road passes, the land there appreciates, because there's now access to the road. Farmers can now transport their products to other towns and to other cities. Fishermen can also do that. So it puts money in people's pockets.
More like an export capacity improvement in all of the Mauritanian states.
The bottom line is it puts money into the pocket of the people.
Well, again, I really would want to continue on this particular story, but I want to get to this other one that seems to be getting my attention. And I'm talking about the story coming from Egypt, clearly on the fact that there is a growth in the economy at about 5.3 in their GDP. Doctor, this is coming at the brink of the first quarter of 2025-2026 season, fiscal year, beg your pardon, from a 3.5% in the same period last year, and we're talking about 5.3% this year already.
Well, why it's possible is because there have been stability in Egypt for some time now.
Stability in what sense, doctor?
Stability in the life of the people. Understand? The kind of bad stories and violence and so on we used to hear about Egypt is not there anymore. So there's stability, and when there's stability, it drives development and growth. Understand? Another thing is that Egypt has succeeded in achieving a steady power supply. And whenever there's steady power supply, small-scale businesses will begin to develop. And anywhere in the world, a small-scale business is always the bone of any country's economy. And once small-scale businesses are developing, people are getting richer, the country are also getting richer.
Now, there is a major question, doctor, that Africans are trying to find out here. If the growth rate is 5.3%, why are the real wages and SMEs access to credit still squeezed? Who is capturing the rebound, basically, and who is being left behind? Because there are complaints from the SMEs as well of not being able to access, credit facilities, even in the States.
There's no given space, whether a city, a town, a state, or a country, that everybody will be happy. That's why Jerry Bentham, a German philosopher, talked about the happiness of the greater number of people in any given space.
Right.
The happiness of the greater number of people, because there's no way everybody will be happy. So people must complain. Even in Switzerland, where people are getting almost everything free, people are being persecuted for not going to the bank to collect grants. That's the money given to them by the state.
Yeah.
People are still complaining. So the issue is that Egypt is moving forward economic-wise.
Okay.
So as of today, Egypt is among the fastest growing economies in Africa.
Well,
Egypt, Morocco, Algeria, and Tunisia.
Well, some would say that the very clear usage of the $8 billion IMF-supported economic program has helped accelerate that economy. Do you share that sentiment as well?
Because one, they have developed steady power supply.
Now, you talk about power supply so very intense.
What
impact does that have?
Once there's a steady power supply, business will begin to grow. The poorest person that has a freezer can begin to sell pure water. Understand me?
Okay.
Or the barber can begin to do something. The welder can begin to do something. So what drives the economy is energy, affordable energy. Once you can get it steady, economy will begin to move
There's
forward.
also the conversation, Doctor, about the fact that Egypt has not had that consistent wave of attacks by either bandits or terrorists.
That's what I'm saying.
In terms of security, they've been stable. Is that also a factor?
Anywhere there's insecurity, there can never be development. So Egypt has been stable for some years now, and that's why you are witnessing these developments.
Now, let's talk about the part that is really quite interesting. Some have said exchange rate flexibility, of course, is a killer of parallel market. What's your position about this?
Well, it is really, but governments also use subsidy to cushion the effect of all this.
Okay. So the subsidy is in play here, not just what we see in the peripheral.
Sure.
Okay. Now, again, the governments have said, well, let me use Nigeria as a case study. The subsidy on petroleum, that there was no budget for it when the presidency made that declaration in 2023. Is there a possibility that the government of Nigeria may not be looking in that direction of cushioning effects of subsidies gone? Thus, the reason why the economy is dwindling like it is presently.
The issue is our own subsidy is going to the wrong pockets. Understand? Because it is the oil marketers that was abusing what is meant for the people.
Okay.
Subsidy is one of the surest ways that government helps the people. Understand? What is subsidy? An instance, a product is selling for 200 naira. Government feels, no, this is too much for my people. Pay 100 naira, let us pay 100. So that 100 is subsidy.
Right.
Understand?
Right.
But in Nigeria, this money is going into the oil marketers. Understand? Those who are supposed to benefit from it are not really benefiting. Understand me?
Okay.
So it is only a few that is benefiting that from the subsidy in Nigeria.
So, as it stands, if these few are truly benefiting, just like you said, from the oil subsidy in Nigeria, that again is not a reflection of what the government said, that they've met their quota. Should that also come into play? Because that is on the part of the people.
The idea of meeting your quota while you are still borrowing does not make sense. So for me, it's mere propaganda.
Okay, I was really going to ask you, I hope Africans just oppose when one government meets its quota, and then of course the people are being not only taxed, also not having the purchasing power. How does that marry up in the path of economy?
That's propaganda, not progress. Understand? Because when a government meets in its target, its quota, it should rub off on the people in the way of lesser taxes, lesser rates, and so on and so forth.
Okay.
And that's what it should be.
All right then. Well, Doctor, one question that comes to mind when I saw this story about Egypt and the increase in their GDP clearly is what I'm going to ask you now. $8 billion IMF-supported fund, $24 billion investment from the UAE Sovereign Wealth Fund. How much have the Egyptian government done to be worthy of this level of credit facility that maybe other African countries, and of course Nigeria as a case study, has not done enough?
I say they have developed a steady power supply. Once you have steady power supply and a stable economy, that is no violence, no instability, no insurgents, your country is moving forward. And you'll be able to pay those they loan, even with the taxes that people are paying. That's, understand? Because once you are doing business, it is going on well, you will not mind paying taxes.
Right.
Understand me?
Okay.
You will not mind paying taxes. Where people worry is that their business is not doing well and government is taxing them. This is why they evade and tax. And in a country like Nigeria, it's only the poor that are paying taxes. It is only the poor that are paying taxes. The rich, once you are connected, you don't pay tax in Nigeria.
Now, Doctor, let's take a bit move, because I'm actually staying on the economic part of this conversation because you're an economist, and as it stands, there is the part of currency and FX liberalization that the administration, the Egyptian administration, previously moved to greater exchange rates, flexibility, and of course lifted FX restrictions to attract portfolios and FDI inflows. Do you think this also had a major impact in this growth? Because these are things that should be emulated if they are factors that made Egypt gain this 5.3% increase in their GDP.
One, it's not always about issuing statements, bringing out white papers. It's about implementation. Understand?
Okay.
Practicing what you are preaching. Understand? Every country can come out with bold statements, but implementation becomes the issue. So for me, I feel that the only reason why Egypt can get up to 5% understand, in growth is that they are implementing what they are saying.
Okay.
Do you understand me?
Okay.
Because they are not just making a political statement. They are not just trying that to sound good in front of World Bank and IMF. So it means that they are implementing what they are saying.
Oh, let's move out of this particular conversation and maybe because of our time, move to the very last one that I want to really want you to chime in on. Embalo Sissoko, the president of Guinea-Bissau, is presently in Senegal. He was granted that movement from the military who feels at this point you need to just stay safe. But some quarters have said, in fact, opposition have said that this is a move by the president to disrupt the results that were supposed to be announced yesterday.
To hand over power.
To hand over power. What's the position with this, Doctor?
Well, remember that I told you that since post-COVID,
right,
no incumbent has gotten the next
back into office
unless a manipulated election results. Understand? So it's not just in Africa; it's everywhere. Understand? So that I was following the campaign. Understand?
Okay.
And I know that there's no way that Mbando will win because the people are not happy with the state of poverty in their country. And what needs to change is anger.
Right.
Understand me?
Right.
The more angry people are, the more they want a change.
Okay.
So Guinea-Bissau, even Guinea Conakry,
right,
has gone far higher in development than Guinea-Bissau. So they have been complaining that they need a change, and the main opposition leader was even promising that he's going to improve Mbano.
Right.
Understand me? So maybe what he now did is to go through this thing, and for him to travel to Senegal with a military jet.
Right.
Because what the minister is supposed to do is not to let him go, but to keep him in detention.
I mean, that struck a very strong chord.
Yeah.
So, as it stands, Doctor, do you also share the sentiment that this looks like a very planned move by the president, Umaru Sissoco Embalo, and of course the military, who before now he's had so much beautiful relationship with?
So for me, I feel that it is him that invited the military to intervene. If you check what happened in Niger, the president was overthrown and put under house arrest. This shows you that the military are not happy with him. But this one was that military came in and now used their own jet and ferry him to another country. Just step aside for now. Understand? So, but for me, I feel that whatever, they should call the result of the election. Let us know what really happened.
But doctor, that seems like to be to the very unfortunate thing that might not just happen, because the military have blocked the provisional results, suspended the electoral process, and imposed a nighttime curfew all across the state.
Mind you, the result, the election has already been concluded.
Yes, and it was supposed to have been announced yesterday.
Yesterday. So it was just like Humphrey Nwosu and Abionda. So the result was already ready. I'm sure that they will have that result somewhere, and one day it will be announced.
Oh, well, because of our time, really, this is where we have to draw anchor on the analysis segment of the African news. I would have loved to hear him say more, particularly on this situation in Guinea-Bissau. But as the story progresses, we definitely will be giving you more insights on those stories on African news every other weekday. I want to say a big thank you to Dr. Peter Anosike for being here. Dr. Peter is an erudite scholar in economy, finance, and of course, government affairs. And he's also a major writer right here in Nigeria and a professional economist. Doctor, thank you so very much for being here.
Thank you for having me.
We'll take a very short break right now. When we return, the rest of the African news will be up next. Please do stay with us. Thank you so much. Glad to have you back. It's still the African news right here on Voice of the People television. Now to more stories. Human Rights Watch has raised concerns that irregularities, political interference, and security pressures could undermine the credibility of key elections in the Central African Republic. The December 28th election will include presidential, parliamentary, and municipal elections for the first time in decades. Former Prime Ministers Aniset Georges Dolungwele and Henry Maria Dondra were initially barred but later allowed to run, raising questions about genuine opposition participation. Administrative shortcomings and insecurity could further restrict voter access, particularly in rural areas outside the capital, Bangui. Peace accords with armed groups have improved stability but lack genuine disarmament, leaving communities at risk if agreement fails. Opposition parties have threatened to boycott the elections, which may pave the way for a legislature dominated by the ruling United Hearts Party. The planned reduction of UN peacekeeping forces could weaken civilian protection and election monitoring outside Bangui. Human Rights Watch urges the government to remove barriers to opposition participation, release detainees held without charge, and ensure equal access to media and campaigning. Moving on, African Export-Import Bank, that's the Afrexim Bank, has joined Nigeria, Africa, and the global community to mourn the passing of Mr. Olusegun Awolowo on the 20th of November 2025 after a protracted illness. He was a visionary champion of intra-Africa trade and a respected leader across multiple trade institutions. Mr. Awolowo served as president of the Ecowas Trade Promotion Organization, Intra-Africa Trade Fair, that's the IATF, ambassador and secretary of Nigeria's National Action Committee on AFTA. He was also the long-serving executive director of the Nigerian Export Promotion Council, shaping policies that deepen Nigeria's export competitiveness. His leadership was instrumental in integrating Nigeria into the African Continental Free Trade Area and promoting the IAFTF as a major platform for trade and investment. Mr. Awolowo's ability to mobilize stakeholders across sectors reflected his exceptional vision and dedication. His passing is a significant loss to Nigeria and the African continent, leaving behind a legacy of economic integration and trade development. Afrexim Bank extends condolences to his family, the Nigerian government, and the people, celebrating the life of a remarkable African leader. You're still watching the African News right here on Voice of the People Television. We'll go on a very short break right now. When we return, more stories in business and sports will be up next. Please stay with us. Glad to have you back at the studio, African News right here on Voice of the People Television. Now to some business stories. The Democratic Republic of Congo and the African Development Bank, that's the AFDB, have approved a plan to boost the performance of the bank's project portfolio in the country. The country's portfolio performance review was conducted from 17 to 20th of November in Kinshasa. The plan focuses on stronger ownership of projects by sector ministries, support for ongoing operations, and coordinated investment programming. It also introduces digitalized reporting, capacity building, performance assessments, and incentives to accelerate project implementation. During the 3-day review, the government and the AFDB teams examined each operation, assessed progress, identified challenges, and proposed corrective measures. DRC Deputy Finance Minister Yamba Kazadi Garcia stressed the moral study duty to turn funding into tangible results for schools, roads, and health centers. AFDB Deputy Director General for Central Africa, Mohammed Sharif, praised the dialogue and reaffirmed the bank's support for national priorities. The bank's active portfolio in the DRC, totaling over $1.6 billion, spans through agriculture, transport, energy, water, governance, human capital, and the digital sectors. And to wrap up the African news, let's go straight talking some sports. The African Cup of Nations trophy was unveiled in London on Thursday as it kicked off its Morocco 2025 Diaspora Tour. The tour will travel from London to Paris and Tokyo ahead of next month's tournament. Former Kenyan midfielder Victor Wanyama, present at the event, highlighted the challenges teams face in qualifying for AFCON. He noted that African football is highly competitive and demands great physical and technical effort. AFCON 2025 returns this December, with Morocco hosting matches in Casablanca, Marrakesh, Rabat, and Agadir from December the 21st to January the 18th. The tournament promises to showcase African talent, spirit, and unity across the continent. Star players expected to shine include Senegal's Sadio Mane, Morocco's Ashraf Hakimi, Egypt's Mohamed Salah, Nigerian young talents such as Victor Osimhen, and Ghana's Mohamed Kudus are eager to make their mark. We're still talking African sports. Algeria side JS Kabylie and Tanzanian Young Africans have finalized preparations ahead of their CAF Champions League Group B clash on Friday. JS Kabylie aims to bounce back after a 4-1 defeat to Egyptian giants Al Ahly in their opening match. Young Africans come into the game confident after a 1-0 victory over Morocco's Rabat earlier in the campaign. The Tanzanian side hope to continue their strong start and maintain momentum in the group. Other fixtures on Friday includes Rivers United of Nigeria against Berkane of Morocco, FAR Rabat versus Al Ahly, and FC Algiers facing Mamelodi Sundowns. Saturday and Sunday we'll see more matches featuring Petro Atletico, Esperance of Tunis, Power Dynamos, Pyramids, St. Elio Lupopo, Al Hilal Omdurman, Stade Malien, and Simba. The CAF Champions League continues to showcase Africa's top club competing at high intensity. Fans across the continent eagerly await thrilling encounters and standout performances. And with that particular sports story, we've come to the end of Africa News right here on Voice of the People Television. Do also subscribe to our YouTube channel. On YouTube, we're at Voice of the People TV, and on all other social media platforms, we are at VOP TV Live. Thank you so very much for being a part of this broadcast. I am David Edwin. Do have a good afternoon.
VOP TV. Now, you have more than a voice.
To know the happenings in the maritime sector, join us on the program Maritime Frontiers on VOP TV as we discuss key areas in the maritime sector from aquaculture, maritime transportation, maritime labor regulation, oil and gas exploration, ferry and passenger insurance, marine pollution and prevention, port operations, and lots more. Maritime Frontiers, exploring Nigeria's blue economy.
Are you ready for the extraordinary? Something big is happening on your screen. Introducing VOP TV. Now streaming on SLTV channel 264. From breaking news to captivating conversations, news analysis, giving you all sides to the story. We break in-depth discussions on the issues that matter, from politics to sports, entertainment, and lifestyle. VOP TV on SLTV channel 264. Join us as we redefine what television means to you. Voice of the People Television, VOP TV. Now you have more than a voice.
This is Health Check, your weekly guide to better living, smarter choices, and trust.